Hey friends and fam, and welcome back to another video with BD, with yours truly. Awesome. So thank you guys for everyone who has subscribed and liked so far. It's been awesome hearing and talking to you guys, reading all your comments. So thank you. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the SSR Shiki that is in game. I was recently asked by someone in game, how do you build Shisho? What's so good about him? And previously I was asked to take a look at the collection of SSR of characters that I have, in a sense. So we're going to be doing both of those real fast, and hopefully I can remember to keep it under 10 minutes today. So let's go ahead and start off real quick. I'm sure everybody knows by now who Hana is, what she is. She's very meta, she's very loved, she's cute, she's bae, she's waifu. All the good stuff, basically. If you don't know who she is a healer, but she's also more of a bruiser. You build her as DPS. Keep in mind that some people do build her as Jizo or defensive, but there are better healers for defensive setups, such as Momo. She is a little easier to build since you don't need the 100% crit on her as you do with Momo if you do build her with Jizo set, but ideally speaking, you want a seductress set on her with high crit as well. So if you go ahead and take a look at my stats, it'll give you an idea of what you're aiming for when you want to build stats on her. Having her first skill maxed is the most important, and I mean, if you want to max her other skills, it's not as big of a deal. She fits in very well with turtle teams. She fits in very well with bruiser teams. She also fits in very well with most teams because of the fact that she doesn't need orbs to be useful. She's also very strong in PvP and PvE, so if you do build her defensively, if you do build her offensively, keep in mind that she's really good for boss fights. She heals your teammates for no orbs, and you get to proc your seductress for like 9k plus damage, which is amazing. If you don't know who Yoda is, she's also a very meta, very popular character. I feel like if I would be I feel like I'd be going over some like very, very known information if I talk about her. So just real quick, single target damage, make sure you max your third skill, all the good stuff, 100% crit, seductress set. You guys know the biz. Moving on is Lord Arakawa, who I call just Fish Lord or Fish Daddy. You'll see him a lot in PvP. He's very strong for playing against Shuzo teams, and when you need single target damage, you're going to want a high crit damage on him, generally speaking. You definitely want 100% crit, but you also want high crit damage and high attack. He's somebody who requires pretty high grade souls, and pretty high stats as well. He works best when you get to go first, and he works very well with the Fire Rain team, which I'm playing with currently. Otengu is like your number one AoE damage dealer. When it comes to AoE and PvE and even PvP, he's like all around just a very solid character. But he's also very meta. Same old, seductor set, 100% crit, as high as crit damage as you can. You guys know the biz with these guys. We want to get into some of these other guys down here, which you don't see very much of right now. So Ibarra, he's really good too. If you've watched any of my other videos, you already know I don't like this guy. Yeah, he's cool. Yeah, he has like a crazy cool hand. I think he's got like horns on his head, and apparently he's in love with Otengu. I don't know if that's true or not. You just see a lot of fan art about it. But I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think he requires a very high quality of souls, which I just never want to invest into one Shiki like that. In the future I will, but currently I don't. So I don't like him very much. I did invest in him quite heavily when I first started because he was the first SSR that dropped for me. And like every other new player, the first SSR I got, I thought I was just going to be a god. I was like, yes, an SSR. Now I can finally be rank 1. Yeah, no, not at all the case. Anyways, he deals overkill damage as AoE to everyone around him. So targeting the weakest character on the enemy team lets you deal very high numbers to everybody else around if you kill him in one shot. He's very strong. He is. like I said, and watch my starter video. It tells you guys not to use him as your first character. But then again, I do get one shot by him at times in PvP. So, anyways, let's get into some of the less popular SSR Shiki, out. Starting off with this cutie. I can't say her name, but she is a cutie. So we're going to talk about her right now. She's actually the person I'm building currently, and I'm going to be using her and Shuten in a no Zash accelerator team. Basically, she has a 30% chance of absorbing one orb from the opponent, meaning that for souls, I have Soul Edge on her currently with slot 6 attack bonus and slot 4 effect res. Since I'm not going to be going first, I want to try and survive the first hit, meaning that I'm going to let her play kind of like a supportive offensive role. Since I'm going to be using Shuzo, she's in a sense, we're going for the long fight here. So I want her to be able to soak up damage, meaning that they're going to get the first hit. You know, if they have single target, I want her to be able to kind of like protect one other character for me as well. But some of your other options on her, you could go Soul Taker, which gives you another chance to get another move in, possibly stealing another orb. You're going to want to go speed, so speed, attack, or speed, attack, crit. If you're going for an Excel team, then you want this to be attack. If you're going for a turtle team or a tank team, you want this to be effect res in case the enemy has crowd control. For slot 6, slot 6 is also flexible. If you put speed on here, you're going to want attack bonus on here. If you put attack bonus on here, then you can go ahead and put crit up here. Now, I like having speed on her because her base stat for speed is very high, 119. That goes really well with the speed soul in there. You get to go in nice and early. And if you can go in before they get a chance to get the rotation going, then you might be able to throw off the rotation altogether. Another good soul on her is Scarlet. Because you attack every time you get hit, so every time you counter, you have a chance to proc your 30%, I'm pretty sure, yeah, 30% chance of absorbing one orb from the opponent. It works pretty nicely. I've seen it done a couple of times. It matches very well with Shuzo and Tree Nymph. Now, moving on to Shisho, I was asked how to build this guy, and this is the whole reason I made this video in the first place. Because not a lot of people know how to use him. Now, please, when you get Shisho, if you get him as your first SSR, don't use him in PvE. Don't be that guy who pulls up Shisho in PvE like S10, like, yeah, buddies, let's go. Just don't. Don't do it, okay? He's a PvP only character. You know, I could be wrong. There might be a case where you want to use him in PvP. I'm not too sure. But I know that there are just way better characters for PvE that will outshine him greatly. So he's your typical bruiser as well. I haven't built him yet. I don't know if I will in the future. I have a couple of guys ahead of him like Shuten I want to get done. And then I also want to start G6ing my entire team. And I'm going to talk about that in another video as well. So before I get too far ahead of myself, let's go ahead and talk about this guy. He's your bruiser, basically meaning, you know, you want long fights with him. He's pretty tanky. He's got decent speed. I'm pretty sure this gets higher up. And he has a very high chance to crowd control. So, not to mention he has a passive to increase his speed as well. So, I've actually ran into somebody in PvP who was rank, I think he was above rank 80 at the time. He was using 2 of these bad boys. And once they got going, it was pretty brutal trying to get out of their CC chain. You want to put him in a team with either Hana or definitely Shuzo, Hana, a healer, and basically you just kind of want to keep going as many times as possible. He also pairs very nicely with Ameona since you can slow them down. I'm pretty sure when the enemy's speed is slower, he has a higher chance to... Yeah, here we go. There we go. When the enemy's speed is at 0, he gets some sort of like buff or transformation, additional layer to his kit as well. So this guy works very well with Ameona. He also lowers the speed himself whenever he attacks. He can chain crowd control pretty nicely, and he does very well against teams that are pretty squishy, double XL teams, anything that kind of wants to turtle as well, since you can throw off their entire kind of like rotation with his skill set. There are lots of videos out there on PvP matches with people who use them, so I would recommend going out there and taking a look at some of the stuff they do. Now, for this guy, I've seen a couple of options for what you can use for souls. I read that you can use Fortune Cat, but I personally wouldn't. I would probably do Soul Taker as well, or I think there was one more. No, I think actually Soul Taker would be the only ruin I would want on him, because I would want to try and get as many turns in as possible. Yeah, that being said, you're definitely going to want to go Soul Taker. You can run Speed slot 2 and then attack slot 4, attack slot 6, or Speed slot 2, attack slot 4, and crit slot 6. It's just up to your preference. I don't think he necessarily needs crit. I'm pretty sure he just kind of like deals a solid amount of damage just with attack. But having crit, kind of like, if you can get to a high crit, why not? Let's move on to the next SSR, Shuten. Now, Shuten is a god for PvE, mostly PvP, but as well for the new boss fights that we've been introduced. He just does so well on both PvP and PvE. Now, I wouldn't level him as your first character, since he's only single target, meaning that if you got Shuten, I would recommend using Ibume first, or using any of the S tier PvE characters that I've already mentioned in some of the other videos. But that being said, if you want to start working on PvP, or you want a third damage dealer for your PvE boss raids, then definitely take a look at him. So the way he works is he gets a layer of madness every time he attacks. Each layer of madness gives him additional damage, and he can get up to a max of 4 layers. So yeah, here we go. 50% chance gaining 1 layer of madness when attacked. 25% chance of gaining 1 layer, can be stacked up to 4 layers. So the great thing about this guy is he doesn't require orbs as well. So he fits in very well for a low orb count team. Not needing orbs for your team is great, because it means you won't get thrown out of like sync easily. Also, it works very well for boss fights, because a lot of the time, you'll run 2 DPS and then either 2 accelerators, or a healer and accelerator, and your third DPS won't have the orbs it needs. Now, for PvE, you're going to want a Seductress set. That goes without being said. The Seductress proc deals a lot of damage. You're definitely going to want that on him as well. For PvP, you're going to want either Scarlet or Soul Taker again. So both of these will let you get in a lot of turns, let you get in a lot of stacks, and let him build up to the powerful kind of like turtle DPS that he is. He is very strong, definitely, but try not to speed over there. Try not to rush to build him, because you're only going to need him for boss fights and PvP. Now, Sasabi. I've played against Sasabi a couple of times. There have been times where he's one-shot my entire team, and then there have been times where he does no damage at all, and I'm like, what is this character? That being the case is because he deals more damage depending on how many orbs you have, meaning that probably the times he one-shot me is when they've had full orbs, and probably the times he dealt no damage is when they didn't have very much orbs as well. As a single target, you're going to want him to go second, so after the team is already weakened. He works very well for PvP, he works very well for double XL teams, he works very well for realm raids. I could see him doing decently well in PvE, but I don't see him outshining some of the other PvE S tier characters out there. Not to say that he can't completely destroy PvE content, because he can. The number of hits he has is very high. But when it comes to being a well-rounded character for PvE, I don't see that being the case, simply because of how his kit is set up. Alright, moving on to Hozuki. Now, this SSR recently just came out, so you're going to have to forgive me for I don't know much about him, but what I have seen of him is that people are using Scarlet on him, and whenever I see him attack, he does do some sort of crowd control. But I'm not going to pretend like I know much about this guy and try and give you guys the false information that I would otherwise. So I'm moving on to Enma. Another SSR that if you get, you don't want to build first. She is a PvP only Shiki. You're not going to use this character in PvE scenarios, as there are just better characters out there for you. The thing about Enma is her Evo gives her plus 10 speed. I'm pretty sure she is the fastest Shiki in game. Speed is an important game right now in the meta, so having her built and having her ready will let you. I've lost to a couple of Enma players because they just get in a cut before me and they can crowd control either my accelerator or my crowd controller. Here we go. It inflicts a silence on a target for 2 turns, and she does some weird shit when she KOs people. But it's the silence that typically like throws me off balance. You know, if they silence my accelerator, then I don't get a turn in. If they silence my crowd control, and then even if I get a turn in, my entire rotation doesn't make much sense. So overall, yeah, that kind of explains her for the most part. You can use her. I've seen a couple of people use her. She's not bad. I don't personally plan on using her. I am going to be using Hana, Shuten, and Aodun. Alright, I'm just gonna call her Cutie. So moving on, let's just go real fast through my SSR collection. This is what I currently have for SSR. Now I have the full collection for all SSR. I mean for all SSR and R. I would if I had Roman for SSR, but I don't like that Shiki as well. I'm not trying to get him. I do shrine a lot of these guys. I keep the ones that I think might be useful in the future. I use her for crowd control, second healer. I'm sure you guys know Momo. She's extremely important for PvP. Her revive is very strong. But yeah, these are what I have. You know, your Rs, your typical Rs, a lot of fodder, and then I think we already went through all the SSR. All right, well, hopefully that wasn't too long. Felt like it might have been. Thank you guys for watching my videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in game.